Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take complex topics, dig through the information, and pull out the key insights for you.
That's the mission.
And today, well, we're stepping into a pretty strange world. Cryptozoology, folklore.
And a bit of forensic science, too, actually.
Yeah, we're tracking a creature that basically exploded onto the scene, became a global name almost overnight. The Chupacabra.
It really is, like, the ultimate modern cryptid, isn't it?
How so?
Well, think about Bigfoot or Loch Ness. Those stories are old, lots of folklore, blurry photos,
Definitely
right?
decades, centuries even.
The Chupacabra, though, it burst out in the mid-1990s, and it spread entirely through, modern media, TV, news, eventually the internet.
It's terrifying if you're a farmer, obviously.
Absolutely. But for us, looking back, it's just this perfect case study. How do these urban legends actually start? How do they get shaped by, collective anxiety?
And how does the media keep them going?
Exactly. It's all there.
And the name itself tells you a lot, right? Chupacabra. Or is it chupacabras? I hear both.
Technically, chupacabras is plural in Spanish, which is where it comes from. But honestly, both get used pretty interchangeably now.
Okay. And it means?
It's dead literal. Chupa, that sucks in Spanish.
Okay.
And cabra's goats.
The goat sucker.
Yep. The goat sucker. And that name, it just nails the core terrifying claim of the whole legend.
Which is?
That this thing isn't just a predator killing livestock. It's supposedly vampiric. It drains its victims completely of blood.
Right. Okay. So that's our mission for this deep dive then. We want to really get into it. Track it back to the very beginning. Those first weird livestock killings in the Caribbean.
Then look at the descriptions, because they're all over the place, aren't they?
Totally contradictory, yeah. We need to unpack that.
And then the big part, apply the science. Forensics, zoology. What does the evidence actually say?
Because that's what ultimately unravels the whole thing.
Pretty much. By the end of this, you'll have the full story. The complete picture of the goat sucker legend.
All right, let's start at the beginning. But maybe not 1995. You mentioned it goes back further.
Yeah, to really get the origin, you kind of have to rewind another 20 years. Before the name, before the hype.
Where are we going?
Back to 1975. Mocha, Puerto Rico. And a series of events they called El Vampiro de Mocha.
The Vampire of Mocha.
Okay.
This is like the shadow precursor. The first hints of this really specific, really bizarre pattern of attacks on livestock.
In Mocha, mid-70s.
Exactly. And the attacks were so strange, so brutal, that people couldn't explain them normally. They didn't think, oh, it's a wild dog or, a big cat.
Yeah. What did they think?
Their first thought, interestingly, was much darker. They suspected a satanic cult.
Wow. Ritual sacrifice.
That was the theory, because of how the animals were killed.
Ah, okay. So it wasn't just dead animals.
No. If, a coyote gets a sheep, right, there's usually signs of a struggle, trauma, maybe parts are eaten.
Makes sense.
But in Mocha, and later across the island, the signature was consistent. The animals were reportedly bled dry.
Completely dry. That was the claim. And through these tiny, almost surgical-looking circular holes, incisions. Not like bite marks.
Didn't look like a normal kill at all. Looked precise, almost alien, not natural.
And that specific detail, the blood drain, the small holes, that's what kept the mystery going.
For 2 decades, yeah. It was just this unexplained phenomenon bubbling under the surface. Then, boom, 1995, it just exploded.
The attacks ramped up.
Dramatically.
Yeah.
And that's when the creature really got its identity.
So tell us about that, the official launch, you could call it.
Right.
Where and when did it become the Chupacabra story?
March 1995. Again, Puerto Rico. Different location this time. 8 sheep were found dead.
Okay.
And again, very specific damage, not random wounds. Each one had 3 distinct puncture wounds in the chest area.
3 wounds?
And the claim, once again, completely drained of blood.
So this wasn't just a few random deaths anymore. It was a pattern, and it was escalating.
Big time. It became a real crisis, especially for farmers, for the agricultural community there. And this is where the eyewitness comes in, the one who gave it a face.
Exactly. Fast forward a few months to August 95, the attacks really zeroed in on this town called Canovanas.
Okay.
And the numbers were just staggering. Panic set in. Some reports claimed up to 150 farm animals and pets were killed just in that 1 month.
150.
It's total mass hysteria. And right in the middle of all that fear, the key eyewitness steps forward. Madeline Tolentino.
She saw it.
She claims she did. And her description, Well, that became the legend. The reptilian creature, spines down its back, hopping like a kangaroo.
That visual cemented it.
It absolutely did. It took these terrifying events, these dead animals, and gave them this incredibly scary visual form. It pushed the whole thing beyond just weird livestock killings into, like, sci-fi horror territory.
Okay, so you got the attacks, you got the visual, but it needed a name, something catchy.
It got one almost immediately, and the credit for that bit of, well, branding genius.
Who was it?
A Puerto Rican comedian and entrepreneur named Silverio Perez.
A comedian?
Yeah, he was also a radio DJ in San Juan at the time. And when these attacks were just dominating the news in '95, he's the one who apparently coined the term chupacabras on air.
Huh.
It was clever, right? Descriptive, memorable, easy to say.
Yeah, goat sucker. It sticks.
Totally. It became the perfect cultural shorthand. People weren't talking about those weird vampire killings anymore. They were talking about the chupacabra.
And what's really wild, especially compared to older myths, is how fast this thing spread.
Oh, instantly. It wasn't contained to Puerto Rico at all.
How did it travel so quickly?
Well, international media picked it up fast, and crucially, Spanish-language media connections across Latin America.
So after Puerto Rico,
reports just started flooding in. Mexico, Argentina, Chile, Panama, the Dominican Republic, you name it.
so people elsewhere were having similar experiences. Or they just heard the story.
Probably a bit of both. People hearing the news reports, maybe they'd already had some unexplained livestock deaths themselves.
And suddenly they had a name for it.
Exactly. They had a name, a description for their own local mystery. The Chupacabra label just got slapped onto it.
And it moved north, too, into the U.S.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It crossed the border big time. The southwestern U.S. became a real hotspot for sightings.
Texas, Arizona, places like that.
Yep. Though, weirdly, reports have popped up as far away as Maine.
Maine.
Seriously. Yeah. And even crazier, the folklore, it went way beyond the Americas. There were reports, alleged sightings, related attacks in Russia, the Philippines.
How does that even happen?
It just shows you the power of a really strong, simple narrative, right? This idea of the vampire monster. It can go global way faster than any real animal could possibly migrate.
Okay, so it originates, gets a name, spreads like wildfire.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the descriptions are contradictory.
Massively so. And this is really key. If you dig into all the reports, all the eyewitness accounts, the Chupacabra isn't one thing. It's basically two completely different creatures. Depends where you are.
That variation is important.
It's crucial. It's actually the key to understanding why the whole thing eventually gets, debunked scientifically. The descriptions just don't match up. They split really neatly into two dominant types. Mutually exclusive types, really.
All right, let's break them down. Type 1 first. That's the original, right? The Puerto Rican one.
Yeah, the one Madeline Tolentino described back in '95. This is the reptilian or alien cryptid, mostly reported in Puerto Rico and other parts of Latin America.
Okay, what does that one look like?
It's definitely not a dog or anything familiar like that. It's described as, like, a heavy animal, maybe the size of a small bear, standing 3 to 4 feet tall.
So about a meter and a half high?
Roughly, yeah. And the really distinct features are the skin and how it moves.
Okay.
Witnesses talked about thick, leathery skin, or sometimes scaly, often greenish-gray, giving it that real reptilian or even alien vibe.
And the classic feature, the thing everyone pictures.
The spines. Gotta be the spines. A big, obvious, scary row of sharp quills or spines, running all the way from the neck or the back of the head down to the base of the tail.
Right.
And movement-wise, it didn't walk on 4 legs. It was described as standing upright, moving with this kind of hopping gait, like a kangaroo.
A spiky reptilian kangaroo.
Pretty much. And you see those specific details pop up again in reports from places like Chile and Argentina later on. That's the monster that terrified the Caribbean.
Okay, hold on. A 3 to 4 foot tall, spiky, hopping reptile alien.
Yeah.
That sounds absolutely nothing like the creature people started reporting just a few years later in, say, Texas.
Exactly. That's the point. As the legend moved north, especially into northern Mexico and the U.S. Southwest, starting around the early 2000s, the description just completely flipped.
And to type 2?
And to type 2, the dog-like predator. And that became the main image in North America.
So when someone in Arizona said they saw a chupacabra, what were they seeing or describing?
They were describing something that looked kind of like a dog or a coyote, but wrong. Horribly wrong, like some weird, mutated wild dog.
How so? What were the features?
The key things here all point towards, well, severe illness. It's described as being mostly hairless.
Hairless.
Yeah, maybe just some patches of fur. The skin is often described as thickened, leathery, maybe crusty.
Okay.
It's got a really pronounced spinal ridge. You can see the vertebrae sticking up. The eye sockets look unusually deep or pronounced, and big, visible fangs and claws.
So it looks sick.
Yeah.
Diseased.
Totally. It looks like a biological horror, right? Much more than some sci-fi monster from space. It looks aggressive, mangy, just awful.
Okay, so two completely different creatures. One's an alien kangaroo, one's a messed up dog.
Yep.
But they're linked by this one single terrifying thing, the way they attack.
The MO.
The vampiric MO, that's the common thread. And that method is what supposedly makes the chupacabra different from any normal predator we know about.
Right. A normal predator kills to eat. Or maybe drags the kill away. But with the chupacabra, the central scary claim is it drains all the blood.
All of it.
That's the story. Sometimes even takes organs, but leaves the rest of the carcass basically untouched. No signs of feeding on the meat.
And the wounds themselves, always described as precise, right? Almost surgical.
Yeah, that gets emphasized a lot, usually 1 or 2 holes, or most famously 3 puncture wounds.
The triangle.
Often described as being in a triangle pattern pointing downwards, usually neck or chest.
And that precision, plus the lack of blood at the scene, plus no eating the body.
That's what cemented the idea. This wasn't just a dumb animal. It was something intelligent, maybe, doing something weird, motivated purely by blood. That's the absolute core of the whole legend.
Okay, this is where we need to bring in the investigation, the science, put this whole thing under the microscope.
Right.
We've got 2 monsters, an alien one, a diseased dog one, both supposedly vampires. Let's start with type 1, the original, the spiky hopping reptile.
The OG Chupacabra.
Yeah. If we look at the work Benjamin Radford did, digging into this, that whole visual description just kind of collapses, doesn't it?
It collapses spectacularly, yeah. Radford's investigation is probably one of the best examples of how modern folklore can actually be created. It's stunning, really.
What did he find?
He basically concluded that the entire visual description, the one from the key eyewitness, Madeline Tolentino, wasn't based on anything she actually saw in real life. It was directly copied from a movie monster.
A movie? Which one?
The sci-fi horror film Species.
Species. Didn't that come out in 1995?
Exactly. The very same year as the main Puerto Rican attacks and Tolentino's sighting. The timing is perfect.
And the creature in that movie, Syl, wasn't it?
Yep, the alien Syl. And if you look at Syl's design, bipedal, roughly human-sized but kind of hunched, and crucially, that defining row of spines down the back, it was almost identical to Tolentino's description of the Chupacabra. The movie was brand new. It was out there in the culture.
Is there direct evidence linking her sighting to the movie?
Well, Radford uncovered a reported statement from Tolentino herself that's pretty damning.
What did she say?
She reportedly said about what she saw, it was a creature that looked like the Chupacabra with spines on its back and all. And then she added, the resemblance to the Chupacabra was really impressive.
Wait, she said the thing she saw resembled the Chupacabra. Isn't she the one who described the Chupacabra in the first place?
That's the key point Radford makes. It seems she saw the movie, Species, saw the creature Syl, and then when she saw something, or thought she saw something, during that period of panic and canovanas, her brain basically mapped the movie monster onto the real-world event. She wasn't describing an unknown creature. She was saying the unknown creature looked like the monster she'd just seen on screen.
So the implication is huge. The iconic image, the one that scared people across continents, is basically fan art, right? Based on a movie.
It's more than that. It's like a powerful case of confirmation bias, maybe even misremembering. Radford found evidence suggesting Tolentino came to genuinely believe that the events and the creature from Species were actually happening for real in Puerto Rico.
Wow.
So, yeah, when your main original eyewitness bases the description on a Hollywood alien, it completely undermines the idea of the reptilian Chupacabra being a real animal. The visual identity wasn't born from zoology, it was born from cinema.
Okay. That deals a major blow to Type 1's appearance. But what about the shared trait, the core of the legend, the vampirism?
Right. Even if the alien look is out, we still have this claim. Animals being bled dry. That needs evidence. Forensic evidence.
And did they find any? When they actually examined the carcasses?
This is where pathology comes in. And the answer is pretty definitive. That central claim, total blood drain, exsanguination, it sounds dramatic, and it is testable.
Through a necropsy.
Exactly. A necropsy and animal autopsy is the only way to know for sure. You examine the blood vessels, the organs. Is the blood volume actually close to zero? And the reports of blood sucking were simply never confirmed by necropsy, not once.
So when vets actually looked inside,
they didn't find animals that had been magically drained dry. No known predator does that, and no natural process makes it happen after death like that.
there was a specific vet involved in Puerto Rico during the panic, wasn't there? Dr. Holland.
Dr. Dave Morales, yeah. He worked for the Department of Agriculture and actually examined a large number of the alleged victims.
How many?
Over 300 reported victims in Puerto Rico.
Okay, that's a significant sample size.
Absolutely. And his conclusion was clear. The animals had not been bled dry.
So what killed them?
He determined the cause of death was usually things like internal bleeding from the wounds or circulatory shock, normal trauma from an attack, not some mysterious total blood extraction.
So the whole vampire angle was just sensationalism, misinterpretation.
It seems like it. A scary narrative that fit the weirdness of the situation but wasn't actually supported by the physical evidence.
Okay, so type 1. Alien look comes from a movie, blood draining isn't real. That leaves type 2, the dog-like one, the U.S. Southwest Chupacabra.
The mangy dog version.
This one at least looks like a real animal, albeit a horrifying one. What's the scientific take on that creature?
This brings us neatly to the mange hypothesis, and this is pretty much the accepted scientific explanation for the vast majority, if not all, of those U.S. sightings.
Mange, like the skin disease dogs get.
Exactly, specifically sarcoptic mange. There's a biologist, Barry O'Connor from the University of Michigan, who studied this back in 2010.
And his conclusion?
His conclusion was that when people in Texas or Arizona were reporting chupacabras, what they were actually seeing were coyotes, or sometimes domestic dogs, but animals suffering from a really, really severe infection of this parasite.
The mite Sarcoptes scabiei.
That's the one. It causes sarcoptic mange.
What does that mite do to an animal to make it look like that? Like the descriptions?
It's pretty horrific, especially when it gets advanced. The mites burrow under the skin, causes intense itching. The animal just scratches and scratches itself raw.
Leading to hair loss.
Massive hair loss.
Yeah.
That explains the mostly hairless look, which is so key to the type 2 description. And it doesn't stop there.
No.
The skin itself reacts. It thickens up dramatically, gets crusty, scaly, often turns this sort of dark, grayish color.
Matching the leathery or strange thick skin reports.
Perfectly.
So all those monster features, the deep-set eyes, the visible spine, the weird skin, they're just symptoms.
They're all symptoms of advanced mange. The hair loss makes the skeleton underneath way more obvious. You see the spinal ridge clearly, the bones of the skull around the eyes look more prominent, more sunken. It gives them that gaunt, almost demonic appearance.
Like something undead.
Exactly. And add to that, these severely infected animals often have secondary skin infections, which can create a really foul, rank odor.
Oh.
So imagine seeing this hairless, bony, weird-skinned, stinking creature. You can see why someone might think they're seeing something totally unnatural, a monster.
Okay, the appearance makes sense now. It's a sick coyote. But what about the behavior? Why are these mangy coyotes attacking livestock? And why the weird killing pattern, killing but not eating?
That also comes back to the disease. Think about a healthy coyote. It's fast, it's got stamina, it can hunt down quick prey like rabbits or deer.
Right.
But an animal with severe mange, it's incredibly weak, it's probably in constant pain, dealing with infections, just totally debilitated. It's struggling just to survive.
So it can't hunt properly.
No way. It can't chase down the usual wild prey. So what does it do? It goes for the easiest possible meal.
Livestock. Goats, sheep, chickens, things in pens.
Exactly. They're relatively slow, contained, easy to corner and kill compared to a healthy deer. It explains why these attacks suddenly focus on farms. It's desperation hunting.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about the puncture wounds? The legend emphasizes those 2 or 3 precise holes. How does a sick coyote explain that?
Well, 2 puncture holes. That's completely standard for any canine attack.
The teeth.
Yep. The upper and lower canine teeth. When a dog or coyote bites down, especially on the neck or throat to subdue prey, that's the damage you expect to see. 2 distinct holes.
But the stories often mention 3 holes. We're talking about how surgical it looks.
The surgical precision idea is likely psychological, you know? In a stressful sighting, maybe you only register the deepest wounds, the canine punctures.
And the 3rd hole.
Could be anything. A scrape, another bite mark from a different angle, damage from dragging the animal, or maybe just misinterpretation in the panic. The crucial thing is, when they've actually recovered carcasses in the U.S. and done DNA testing on saliva from bite
How
wounds,
could they find?
it consistently comes back as coyote or dog DNA, not some unknown creature.
Okay, one last piece then. Why leave the carcass uneaten if they're so desperate for food? That fuels the they only want the blood idea.
That happens more often than you'd think, even with healthy predators sometimes. It's often called surplus killing, or it could just be an interrupted attack.
How so?
A sick, weak coyote might manage to attack and injure, say, a goat. But then maybe it gets spooked, a light comes on, a dog barks, a person yells, it runs off immediately.
Abandons the kill.
Right. Or maybe the animal is just so weak from the mange, it literally doesn't have the energy left to tear through the hide and start feeding after the initial kill bite.
So the prey dies later.
Yeah, the victim dies from the trauma, the internal bleeding, the shock. But the body is left looking mostly untouched, except for those canine puncture wounds. It looks like it was just killed for blood, but the explanation is much more mundane.
Wow. Okay. So the science really does seem to dismantle both versions pretty effectively.
It provides very plausible, evidence-based explanations, yeah.
The alien is a movie mix-up. The dog is a sick coyote. But the whole phenomenon, the idea of the Chupacabra, feels like it's about more than just mistaken identity, right? There's a cultural anxiety there.
Definitely. And if you look at the environmental context, especially for the start of the legend, the timing is really suggestive.
How so?
Remember the first big wave, Puerto Rico, late 95, and then Mexico in 96, when reports really took off there.
Yeah.
Both of those periods either happened during or right after major droughts in those regions.
Drought. That puts pressure on everything.
Everything. Water dries up, plants die, the animals that eat plants, the usual prey for predators, they die off or move away.
Those predators get desperate.
Exactly. It creates this intense competition. Hungry predators, like coyotes, are pushed out of their normal areas, closer to humans, closer to farms, looking for anything to eat, like livestock.
So the increase in attacks, the aggression, it could just be ecological stress.
It's a very strong contributing factor.
Yeah.
The Chupacabra becomes this sort of scary embodiment of that stress, a name for the increased danger during a hard time.
And that need for a label, maybe that explains the huge variety in descriptions we talked about earlier.
I think it does, remember. Thick skin, thin skin, wings, no wings, bat-like, alien dog-like, it's all over the place.
Impossible for one real creature.
Completely. It strongly suggests that Chupacabra just became this catch-all term.
For anything weird?
Anything weird and scary, especially if it involved livestock. You hear about this monster, the Chupacabra, on the news. Then you see some strange animal. Maybe it's a monkey that escaped from somewhere. Maybe it's a fox with mange. Maybe it's just a dog you don't recognize acting aggressively.
And your brain just goes, Chupacabra.
Exactly. It's confirmation bias. You use the label you already know to make sense of something frightening and unknown. It gives a scary, chaotic event, a story, a narrative.
In this type of story, the livestock killing vampire, it's not unique to the Chupacabra, is it? You find similar ideas elsewhere.
Oh yeah, the fear is pretty universal. It taps into something deep, probably. In the U.S., you've got legends like the Ozark Howler.
What's that?
Supposedly a large, maybe bear-like or cat-like creature in the Ozarks region shares that element of being this feared, unknown predator.
And in South America, where the Chupacabra story also took hold.
In Chile, they have the puchin.
Puchin. Different look.
Very different look, often described as a winged snake, but the habit is strikingly similar. It attacks livestock, associated with draining blood or life force.
Winged snake. Where might that come from?
Well, one theory connects it to the vampire bat, which is native to that region and does feed on livestock blood. So you can see how maybe a real animal gets exaggerated into this terrifying mythical creature over time.
A biological basis twisted by folklore.
Could be. And you see similar figures even further away.
Like where?
The Sigbin in the Philippines shares a lot of the Chupacabra's reported traits, functions as this scary livestock predator in their folklore.
So this isn't just a 90s phenomenon?
Not at all. And we see the same cycle playing out even now.
Really? Where recently?
There was a case in Manipur, India back in 2018, a whole series of mysterious attacks on farm animals, poultry.
Caused a panic. People thought Chupacabra.
Sparked local fear, yeah.
Yeah.
The idea of some unknown cryptid came up. But then forensic experts got involved. They examined the remains, the attack patterns. Conclusion: it was local street dogs, probably feral or semi-feral packs, driven by hunger.
Same story. Different continents. Desperate canids attack. Fear labels it a monster.
It just repeats. which shows how the Chupacabra idea has really gone beyond its specific origins. It's become this global shorthand, hasn't it, for that kind of inexplicable threat to our safe domestic world.
And pop culture definitely picked up on that shorthand.
That immediately. Once a monster gets a cool name and a scary look, it's guaranteed a spot in the modern monster pantheon.
I remember it showing up pretty early on TV. Didn't the X-Files do an episode?
Yep, 1997. El Munajira, classic. It just became this known cultural reference point you could use for horror or even comedy.
Like the South Park episode.
Chupacabra, yeah, from 2012. That shows the legend is so baked into culture, you can use it for satire. And then you get things like that Netflix movie from 2023, Chupa.
Right, where it was suddenly kind of cute.
Totally reinvented. Made it this sympathetic creature needing protection, so the image keeps evolving in pop culture.
Comics, video games, cartoons, it's everywhere. It's a known thing, even though, as we've discussed, the actual basis for it is, well, shaky at best.
Based on misidentification and misinterpretation, yeah.
Okay, let's try and pull this all together then. Synthesize it for everyone listening.
Right. So the Chupacabra, when you break it down, it's really this fascinating kind of unique dual phenomenon. It's not one single monster.
No, it's just a story that basically split in two.
Exactly. Two separate narratives.
Right.
And each one has its own logical, but still pretty compellingly scary explanation behind it.
So type 1, the original, the spiky reptilian one from Puerto Rico.
That's your perfect storm of media influence and maybe suggestibility. You've got real anxiety about livestock attacks mixing with the imagery from a specific horror movie species released at just the right time.
And the alleged vampirism. Medically unconfirmed.
Never verified by forensics, no.
Then you have type 2, the hairless, scary dog-like creature seen more in the U.S.
And that one is biological, but it's not a new species. It's almost certainly a familiar animal, a coyote, maybe a dog suffering from a really severe case of sarcoptic mange.
And the mange explains the horrifying appearance.
And the weakness from the disease explains the behavior, why it attacks easy livestock, why it might kill without eating. It all fits the mange hypothesis.
So ultimately, the Chupacabra isn't really out there in the woods or deserts. It persists for other reasons.
It persists because it taps into something psychological, I think. It's become this really potent cultural symbol, a shorthand for the scary, violent unknown, especially when things feel unstable.
Like during environmental stress, like those droughts you mentioned, when the boundary between our world and the wild feels threatened.
Exactly. That's when these stories seem to gain the most power.
Which leads us to a final thought, something for you, the listener, to maybe chew on.
Yeah, think about the sheer resilience of this modern legend. We've just walked through how the Chupacabra's origins are pretty well documented, right?
The movie link for one type, the mange explanation for the other. It's been investigated, scientifically explained.
The facts are out there. And yet,
Yeah.
the Chupacabra itself, as an idea, as a figure, it's still totally out there. It's arguably a permanent fixture in global folklore now.
Why?
Maybe just because a really good story, especially one that plugs into our fears, maybe has a bit of that Hollywood flair, is often just way more powerful, way more memorable than the plain scientific truth.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the legend of the goatsucker.
We'll see you next time.